Good morning, everyone. I'm Deaconess Elizabeth, and it is Saturday, October the 22nd, and I'm here again for your daily devotions. Today, we are picking up exactly where we left off yesterday. We're in the book of Matthew, the 16th chapter, starting at the first verse. So if you'd like to follow along, you may turn there now. The Pharisees and Sadducees came to Jesus and tested him by asking him to show them a sign from heaven. He replied, "When evening comes, you say, 'It will be fair weather, for the sky is red.' And in the morning, 'Today it will be stormy, for the sky is red and overcast.' You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation looks for a miraculous sign, but none will be given it except the sign of Jonah." Jesus then left them and went away. When they went across the lake, the disciples forgot to take bread. "Be careful," Jesus said to them. "Be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees." They discussed this among themselves and said, "It is because we didn't bring any bread." Aware of their discussion, Jesus asked, You have little faith. Why are you talking among yourselves about having no bread? Do you still not understand? Don't you remember the 5 loaves for the 5,000 and how many basketfuls you gathered? Or the 7 loaves for the 4,000 and how many basketfuls you gathered? How is it you don't understand that I was not talking to you about bread? But be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees." Then they understood that he was not telling them to guard against the yeast used in bread, but against the teaching of the Pharisees and Sadducees. All right, so this is our reading for today, and here we have at the beginning the Pharisees and Sadducees again coming to Jesus, asking him to show them a sign from heaven. And Jesus kind of chides them by saying that they can interpret the sky in verses 2 and 3. When the evening comes, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red, and in the morning, today it will be stormy, for the sky is red and overcast. So he's saying, you know how to interpret what the weather's going to be like, but they're not seeing what's right in front of their faces, where Jesus is right in front of their faces. And he says that, again, the only miraculous sign that will be given is the sign of Jonah. Now, we discussed this only a couple chapters back, but again, just as how Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days, so also will Jesus spend 3 days in the heart of the earth in the tomb. And after those 3 days, Jonah was spit back on the dry land, and after 3 days, Jesus is also raised from the dead. So that's the sign that he's talking about that they're going to be given. And then we get into this passage about the yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the disciples forgot to bring bread, and they're thinking about this, they're talking about this amongst themselves, and Jesus says, "Be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees," and the disciples immediately think about the physical bread that you eat and think, well, he must say this because we didn't bring any bread with us. And so they think he's still talking about the bread you eat, and Jesus explains this, saying that it is not to guard against the yeast used in bread, but against the teaching of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And also Jesus points out he doesn't know why they're complaining about bread, because they've seen how he's fed the 5,000 and the 4,000 when there is very little bread in those cases. So the disciples have been with Jesus for those miracles, so they shouldn't have been worried about bread. And in this phrase, Jesus is talking about to watch what the Pharisees and the Sadducees are teaching so that they would not be led astray. So that is our reading today. A few fewer verses than usual, but our hymn today is going to be hymn 734, "I Trust, O Lord, Your Holy Name," and we're going to sing the first verse. I trust, O Lord, your holy name. Oh, let me not be put to shame, nor let me be confounded. My faith, O Lord, be in your word, forever firmly grounded. And we'll conclude with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Well, thank you for joining me for today's daily devotions on this Saturday. And as I've been saying in some of my other announcements, again, Reformation service is coming up next week, so make sure you're here for that. And again, Higher Things registration, early bird registration begins on November the 1st, and that's for all of our youth who would like to participate in that trip next summer. And we're looking at the one in Illinois, July 18th through the 21st. We'll probably leave a few days before then, but please be thinking about that so we can get registered as soon as possible and make sure we have those spots reserved. And again, Sunday School Christmas program will be December the 18th, so all of the youth in our congregation are invited to participate, as we have lots of dress-up roles and lots of speaking parts. So if you're interested in that, please see me, and there will be more announcements in the newsletters and in church to follow for that. Those are the announcements that I have for today, this Saturday, so I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Saturday.